Endurance, energy, strength, and focus are the 4 pillars of any great pre-workout supplement, and the team at FlexZone is delivering them to you in their all-new pre-workout powerhouse Pre-Flex. FlexZone Pre-Flex comes in 3 delicious flavors: Blue Raz, Green Apple, and Fruit Punch. This product is clinically tested with no proprietary blends and no artificial dyes or colors. And best of all, it's made right here in the US of A. It's time to get your pump on with FlexZone Pre-Flex Workout Powder. And don't forget to use code STORM15 to get your 15% discount on your purchase. FlexZone Pre-Flex and FlexZone supplements are where it's at. Well, here you go, guys. This is Brad Storm, episode 0. Talked to Tim Holman, and we were having a little talk about having an episode 0, which means, pretty much, describe to all the listeners out there who you are and, what you plan to do and whatever, So, as I've gotten older, I really don't like to talk about myself anymore. I think I've repeated this story a million times. But, maybe somebody out there wants to hear about it, and that's fine. That's great. It's a story of trials. It's a story of tribulations. It's a story of many ups and downs and the many pitfalls that pretty much surmise my life. It's just it's not a bad tale. When I was younger, probably back in 1998, it was around that time, I was just wrapping up my 4-year stint, or my 3-year stint at UGA, University of Georgia. And during that time frame, I had a lot of fun. I was a cheerleader for the University of Georgia. I got to see Peyton Manning play on the field, Eric Rett, and many other NFL or future NFL superstars. I also was, since I was a cheerleader, I was in the sports dorm. So I got to hang out with all the guys that were going to go turn pro. I had classes with them, and I used to go party with them quite a bit. I used to talk to Champ Bailey and say, "Hey, man, how's it feel to know that you're going to be a millionaire in about 6 months?" And he's like, "Man, it's unbelievable." I said, "Well, that must be a great feeling." But needless to say, I had a lot of fun in school. I did pretty decent. I got a degree in journalism and a minor in English. And during that time, I was back in Snellville. I lived in Snellville, Georgia. And I was an avid bowler. I still love going bowling. It's just a great escape to just go smash some pins. And I ran into a guy that was working at the Snellville Lanes over in Georgia, in Snellville, Georgia. And he had this Starcade shirt on. And ever since I was about probably 8 years old, I've been watching pro wrestling. I loved professional wrestling. I loved the fact that 2 guys could have a beef, and then they could go settle it in the squared circle. And, just like Santa Claus, I wanted to believe that everything in the squared circle was real. But I didn't really know the ins and outs of professional wrestling when I was growing up. I just saw it as a big spectacle, something that, over the top, Andre the Giant getting body slammed by Hulk Hogan, Macho Man going through the tournament to become the champion of the world with the World Wrestling Federation at the time. And then you had your characters too. You had Jesse Ventura, you had Gorilla Monsoon, you had Bob Uecker, and you had all these entertaining guys. Mean Gene Okerlund. I think as I got older and I didn't grow, I'm like 5'7.5", 5'8" if on a good day, but it's like I always wanted to be a professional wrestler. And when I met this guy at the bowling alley with the Starcade shirt, I said, "Man, that was a great pay-per-view." I said, "You like wrestling, huh?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I like wrestling. As a matter of fact, I'm a referee, and I go travel around the South, and I do shows." I said, "What? I mean, there's more than just WWE and WCW out there?" And the guy, his name was Straight Call Star Stevens, kind of my mentor in professional wrestling. We were on the road quite a bit. We traveled around the South, and we made a lot of good memories. But he taught me the ins and outs of professional wrestling. When I first walked into the doors and started ring announcing, because I figured that would be my niche, I was in a lot of plays growing up, and I sang in front of many, many people on numerous occasions. I always liked to entertain. So I figured, if I can't be a professional wrestler, because there really wasn't any, besides Rey Mysterio and the Luchadors, there wasn't much going on with guys that were 5'7" or 5'8". So I figured, hey, ring announcing would be a good way to get into the business and and see what it's all about. So I traveled around the South, actually I traveled around Georgia for a while, and then some of my travels led me certain places here and there. Also in 1998, that was the first year I started doing shows. And the year I got my internship with World Championship Wrestling. It was an interesting internship. I mean, one thing I learned out of that internship was they really didn't care what I was doing. It was a little bit disappointing to me. I mean, I was probably about 20, 21 years old at the time, and maybe a little bit naive, but I thought, with me telling them I was a ring announcer and I was extremely involved in professional wrestling on the local scene, that they would really dig what I was doing and maybe give me an opportunity. Well, that wasn't the case. Pretty much what I did was I was the grunt, which, interns, I expected it. You go up there Monday through Friday. It was probably about an hour and a half commute from where I lived. It was in Smyrna, Georgia. And I would go there and organize mail. I would call the wrestlers from time to time, but then my boss, she would, you cannot talk to these wrestlers. You need to be on there for a matter of 3 seconds or 3 minutes or whatever the hell it is and get off the phone. So I was like, okay. Well, it wasn't really that fun. And one thing I did do that I really enjoyed was I put together all the championship reigns. I took the history of the World Championship Wrestling and I did all the history. It kind of killed a lot of time for me. And then I didn't have to talk to my head because she was just getting on my nerves. I had to do a poster for Bill Goldberg one year, and I'm like, I don't draw. I mean, I don't know what you want. So she really didn't describe it. I did this stupid poster, and it kind of pissed her off. But needless to say, it's kind of wasted opportunity. You look back at it, you probably wish you could gone to, I could have went to a news station or something like that. But that wasn't the case. I went to World Championship Wrestling. I did run into a lot of wrestlers. I got to sit in with DDP for the video game. I think it was like Nintendo 64. It was a WCW game. I got to sit in with him on a commercial, and I got to sit in with Bill Goldberg, which was pretty cool. But moving on from that, I was in some relationships, got out of ring announcing for a while. And I think that's pretty much my downfall. I didn't really stay focused on the prize. I'd always get sidetracked or, hang out with one female, two female, I don't know, a lot of them. Didn't work out. And what the heck? I became a firefighter in 2002. I wanted to be in the action, and my friends were doing it, and that was something that I enjoyed doing. Before that, though, I did host my own show in college. It was called Between the Ropes. I talked to local pro wrestlers around the area, and even like some ECW guys. I met quite a few characters throughout my time in pro wrestling, so I didn't have a limited quantity of interviews that I could do. I always was ready to go, and I booked a lot of people on that show. But fast forwarding a little bit, I went back to school in 2011. I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I really had a good time. Didn't know what I was going to be doing with the degree, but it was an interesting time. I ran into a couple of guys that were doing a pro wrestling show. I started talking to them saying, hey man, I still know a lot of wrestlers. They have the WWA 4 school that was in Georgia that I did play-by-play commentary for every Thursday night. It kept me fresh, and I got to meet all the new guys coming up the ranks. But I said, hey man, you guys, if you need some help with your show, let me know. Well, needless to say, they had a couple of shows before they morphed their show into an MMA show go figure, right? Guys that like pro wrestling probably like MMA, or maybe not, but these guys did. And MMA was about to take off over in Georgia. There was going to be a lot of promotions going on, and pretty much we formed MMA Mayhem Radio. Turned out to be a good and bad thing. I think 2013, I was Journalist of the Year, and I was Critics' Choice and, Media's Choice for Journalist of the Year for MMA. I mean, I pretty much traveled the Southeast, covering all the big events, the big local events, nothing huge. But I think the biggest thing I covered was in a Victim event. I went to Kansas City with my longtime partner, Reese Greasy. Used to be on MMA Mayhem Radio as well, and we would travel. And I think we would drive to Myrtle Beach, go to the House of Blues, cover a Warzone event, and drive back in the same day. And that's from Georgia. So that was like a 6-hour drive there and then a 6-hour drive back. And then you probably got about 8 hours at the event. So we were really dedicated. And then I pretty much would go to work. I'd work a 24-hour shift or a 48-hour shift just to get time off to go to these events. But, won the award. Everything was good. Just had some differences with certain individuals on the team. And somebody needed to help take the load off of me. I was burning myself out at the time and just wasn't happening. So I decided to leave. And it took a while to, kind of like regroup. But, everything happens. Like they said, everything happens for a reason. And I feel now is a good time to get back into the loop. Went from in 1998, from 2000, I was Bad Brad. Kind of evolved into Brad Storm a long time ago. Love comic books, so there you go. Brad Storm used to be the best looking ring announcer commentator on the face of the earth today. And then I hit 40, so I gotta use something different. But all kidding aside, I really like podcasting. I was doing a show called Cage Side Submissions with a guy, and things didn't work out the way I thought they were going to work out, which is fine. So now I'm rolling with this. Enter the Flex Zone. There's a lot of opportunity with Enter the Flex Zone. I've always been intrigued by successful business people. And, I might be able to entertain, but I really don't know the business side of the world as far as trying to get some money pulled into what I'm doing. I've always done things pretty much for fun or, for what? I was getting paid around over $200 to ring announce MMA, but, with wrestling, you didn't make a lot of money. So I want to learn how to make a successful business / podcast out of Enter the Flex Zone. And I'm currently working on that. I also have a voiceover company named Voices of the Storm. And so I'm trying to get that off the ground. And I just appreciate everybody listening. Make sure you rate the podcast, 5 stars preferably. Tell me what you like, tell me what you dislike, and we can just work on that and fine tune it together. But it's really about the guests that I'm going to have on the show. As I've gotten older, it doesn't matter to me to be in the forefront. I could just sit back. I want to learn. I want to learn with you guys. We can all learn together, be better business people, and hopefully succeed at everything we try to do because A, we're not going to give up. And B, we're going to change and adapt and be better. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you on episode 1. So just make sure to stay strong because Enter the Flex Zone is where it's at.